Hello, this is Steve Malone with Compass FX. I hope you're doing well today and you're getting some good trades. Today I want to take a look at the monthly charts on a number of the major currency pairs, the dollar-based currency pairs, as we go into the last quarter of 2014 and we go into a new month. It's often best at the start of a quarter to step out, look at the market from a bird's eye perspective, and get a feel for what the market's doing. And a number of these dollar-based major currency pairs are reaching levels to where we're either going to get a bounce and retracement, or the market's going to push through a pretty strong level. And if it does, that means there's a lot of momentum moving in that direction. And you're not necessarily going to see this down on an intraday 15-minute or 1-hour chart. You need to step out and see what's been going on. And the reason for that is, how do we end the year for 2014? And so as we go into the last quarter of the year, that's going to be on the mind of many of the institutions. How are we going to finish out 2014? Are we on track? Are we seeing what we thought we'd see by this time? So let's take a look at where we're at with these major currency pairs and see what might we expect to happen in the marketplace from a technical perspective. Now just be aware that the fundamentals of the market also are going to drive the market. For instance, today ECB President Draghi came out and hinted at a continuation of slowing in the Eurozone, and that's going to cause some potential continuation of weakness. With that in mind, we might see a succession of lower lows in the euro dollar. So as we take a look at the euro dollar chart, we can see that we're coming into a couple of levels that the market has hit since 2007. Over these last 7 years, the market has reached down to about the 2450 to the 126 area. Now, we've pushed through a couple of times, but overall, we've hit these levels continually, even going back into 2003. So this area, these two levels, are pretty significant for what we're going to see happening forthcoming. So it appears to me that we have a floor and then we have some lower highs that would suggest a descending triangle pattern. This would appear to break through and then we would test these lower levels. So if the market broke below 2450, the possible move down to the 120 area, and some are even suggesting that we may even see somewhere down around that 1850 area, back down at that low. Now Goldman Sachs has already come out and made the comment that we might see by the end of the year the euro dollar getting all the way down to 120. It's kind of hard to imagine, especially when early in the year we were pressing up around the 139 level. But the market's come off pretty strong with the eurozone weakness. Now on the flip side, with the euro dollar going down, take a look at the dollar Swiss into a level that we haven't seen in a while, going back to 2011. And if we break through this 96 to 97.50 area, we're going to start getting back to levels not seen since 2009, back up in the parity level. So when you get to parity, which is 1 Swiss franc equals 1 US dollar, that's parity. So getting back to 1 is a possibility by the end of the year if we can break above that 97.50 area. And look, if it breaks through here and gets beyond that little wick right there, sky's the limit on that. Let's take a look at the pound dollar. Now the pound dollar has had this strong move back, and interestingly, it has this pennant pattern going back again into 2007. We have this pennant pattern, and notice how the market has come back and is bouncing off that pennant. Now recently the market had pushed down and almost got to the 160 level. The market right now, some proponents in the marketplace are expecting some continuation down to the 160 level before we get a bounce back up. So there's a possible test in that area. With that in mind, some are considering the fact that if 160 gives, we could see a possible push down to 158. Back into this area. And you can see this area has been quite heavily traded going back to 2009. And then look all the way back into 2002 and 2003. So is there a possibility that if 160 gives, we fall down a bit further, unless we hear from the Bank of England as they potentially move into higher interest rates. Now, it seems to me that Governor Carney has kind of put that on the back burner, but hasn't really said a whole lot about what he will or won't do related to the interest rates. We'll just have to watch that one. Now, the Aussie dollar, here's another one, coming into a key level at 86.60. If 86.60 gives, then we're going to be looking for the 85 level. If that gives, we get a good drop down, potentially right down here to about the 80.70, 80.50 area. So we have to watch for this. Do we get a bounce or do we get a push through? If we get a break below 85, there's a long way down, another 400 to 500 pips lower potential in the Aussie dollar. The CAD on the other side, going the other direction, look at it. It's at a key level. If we break this 1230 level, then sky's the limit again. We could potentially get up to about this area right about here, maybe a bit higher, before we run into any resistance. And that would put us up around that 117. So again, here's a situation where there's a potential break and a push on to higher levels as we go into the last quarter of 2014. And last but not least, it's been most interesting for me to watch the highest interest-bearing currency in the world, the Kiwi, just get sold off like nobody's business. Like no one wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And it has dropped to 76, 75 level. If it dips just a bit more and breaks 75.30, we could see another precipitous drop further all the way down, possibly down to this swing low. Now note that there are levels lower here, but I just want you to note that if we get a breakthrough here, then there's that potential drop lower. Now, let's back up just a sec. A couple things are going on with the Kiwi. We have the highest interest-bearing currency in the world, but yet the Reserve Bank of New Zealand hasn't reduced the interest rate. While at the same time, the governor of the RBNZ, Governor Wheeler, and the Prime Minister, John Key, are trying to talk down the Kiwi. It seems to me they're willing to talk the talk, but not walk the walk. So if you want a lower currency, then you should be dropping the interest rate. The market has a tendency to put its money with the highest interest-bearing currency. So the market here, we've had this sell-off of the Kiwi, some unwinding of carry trades in the marketplace, but yet there's a bit of resiliency still in the Kiwi. So there is the possibility that we might see a possible bounce up before we see a drop through. But there again, a push below the 76.75 area, I'm looking for the move down to 75.30. So again, what I would suggest you do, look at the monthly charts. Again, euro dollar, it's coming down. If it breaks below 24.50, we could see it possibly push all the way down to about 120 level. The Swissy, if the Swiss gets above 97.50, we could see it close to parity by the end of the year. The pound. Now the pound has the opportunity for a bounce and a push back up as it approaches the 160 level. I'm a bit surprised that the market would allow the pound to fall back into this pennant pattern, but it might do that. And if 160 gives, I'm looking for it to drop right back down to this apex, this middle point of the triangle of this pennant, which sits about the 158 level. On the Aussie dollar, we could see a drop down to 85 if 86.60 gives, and then a slide on down to about that 80.70, 80.50 area as we go towards the end of 2014. And then there's the CAD. CAD breaks this 1230, sky's the limit, possible push up, another 500 pips to the upside potential before the end of the year. And like I mentioned with the Kiwi dollar, possible bounce being a high interest bearing currency, but if the Politico continues to talk down the Kiwi, if it breaks that 75.30 level, then I would recommend watch it go from low point to low point to low point. Well, this is Dean Malone with Compass FX. Hope some of this information, look at the big picture as we go into year end, will help you in your trading. Y'all make it a great day. Get some good trades. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.